Well, good afternoon or good evening if you're in the USA, and if you are overseas, particularly in the Pacific Rim, it's already Super Saturday morning. I am Bruce, Mr. Simpler, Faster, Better, or as I've become known here, the guy in the blue shirt. And talking about fabulous Friday evening, it's actually late evening for my wonderful guest here, Tommi. Tommy's over there in Malta. So, Tommi, why don't you take it away? And a lot of people may not even know where Malta is. So, over to you, sir.
Yeah, that question does surprise me every now and then, but it is a quite a small country.
Right.
It's a member of the EU, so it's one of the nation states. But there's less people in Malta than there is in Leeds, my home city.
Right.
So it has that interesting thing of being a nation, a country, but having a city population almost.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just off the coast of Italy.
Yeah,
small little set of islands.
Yeah, so I'll translate a little bit. So the EU is the European Union, which obviously a lot of people in the USA know became pretty popular in the news last year when the UK, which is where both you and I were born originally, dropped out of the EU, or the Brexit, as they called it. Britain exiting, the economic European community. So that's kind of the tie back, right? And so Malta is still an independent country, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people also know Malta by Maltese, right? They go by the Maltese. Is that correct?
Essentially.
Right. All right. Well, so our little story is, again, and I love to point out the power of LinkedIn and how you can build not only interesting but meaningful connections. So I know Tommi and I started to cross-engage on other people's posts, and we then hopped on a Zooming call, and we had a chit chat, and we found out that I'm always amazed at how much we have more in common than uncommon to each other. And I said, hey, Tommi, why don't you want to be a live guest from a different country, even though you're a Brit at heart? And he said, yeah, sure. So that was just wanted to point out to people, if people don't believe in the power of LinkedIn or really any social platform you might be on, the power is in the engagement. And great timing by Kenneth Dunner is the first person on. Hey, Kenny, thanks for coming on, man. And actually, Kenneth Dunner and I, we've never met, but we've done so much cross-engaging. I probably know more about Kenny than I know about some of my own family right now. So the power of that. And I also know from our chit chat, your power zone is in the power of using video, right? So why don't you talk us a little bit through, how did you get involved in that, Tommi? And, what are some of the lessons learned you've had along the way about the power of video? And then we'll talk about maybe some mispower of video, right?
Well, I found out by accident because I had originally goals of having a lot of expensive equipment and making very expensive videos, and there is a place for that.
Right.
But one day I ended up filming somebody's just opinion of the service that they'd been given, and the client cared about that more than anything else I was doing. That was quite elaborate, involving animations and scripting and God knows what. And they just wanted what the client was saying. So the light bulb went off, and I just went down that little rabbit hole. And at some point, I was looking to do bigger stuff in terms of scale, but people just wanted more of the feedback from the clients, and so just kind of kept going and further and further down that tunnel, and people just asked for that.
Right. Yeah. So people, bigger is not always better, right? And also simpler is, that was my jam with you. I'm all about simpler, faster, better. And what you uncovered, even though you had this bigger, elaborate plan, is that, simpler and faster and better for your clients' needs is exactly what they wanted, right?
Well, we're talking on here. We're sharing ideas back and forth, right?
Right.
And okay, maybe the fact, you know, I mean, I know we look beautiful, and
you
you know,
more
we're trying
than
to. Sometimes we try to keep things on brand and look to it, you know, look fancy to a certain degree. But you can hear me, I can hear you perfectly clearly. I can see your face, you can see mine, and people watching it from the body language are going to tell if we're telling the truth or not. Well, they're going to have a pretty strong idea.
yeah.
So these days, people trust that. You know, some business owners worry that if they don't fill with expensive gear, then people aren't going to believe they have a proper business or they haven't got money. But I think people are getting further away from that idea now. I'm not
Right.
saying you can't film stuff on, you know, on good equipment, because it has its purposes in positioning you as a bigger company, if that's what you want to do. Or maybe the better word is regional brand or national brand. But in terms of just persuading people that you do a good job and you can be trusted, you know, the fact we're talking here right now and we're sharing ideas and people are listening to it and probably going to hopefully buy into it, shows that people will still trust you know, something quite simple as us talking here right now.
Yeah, I'm probably like many people. I used to get hung up on the word, you know, well, it may not look professional enough, Bruce, or it may not, you know, send a message of professionalism. But and I got hung up on that for a long time. And, you know, a lot of people have heard me say this before. It was just only over 2 years ago that I started taking selfies on my iPhone. I was like, it was like, you know, I don't think that's professional enough. And then I was, you know, slapped around a little bit and told, hey, Bruce, get past yourself. You know, people want to know about the real person that provides the value added services that they're, you know, going to be paying money and investing time in. So once I got past that and then started to play around with video, it's like, you know, people want to learn the social energy. It's not the professionalism. It's, you know, what social energy does Bruce or Tommy or Kenny or Sri is another great example. I've been watching a lot of stuff that Sri does, which a lot of people are connected to on LinkedIn. And, you know, she is very genuine and just on her phone and doing her stuff. And you can tell she brings an awesome social energy to all of her videos. And that's all that we need to do, really, you know. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think people are getting smarter to when somebody's trying to pull the wool over their eyes, or that somebody's trying to do a smoke and mirrors act.
Yeah.
A few years ago, you know, I saw somebody who had gone to the full lengths of like trying to get a man sat in front of a fireplace. You know, like literally you could see how staged it was, and they thought, well, our clients are going to like that. But they forgot that most of their clients this was a company in R&D, and research and development. And most of the people who want that are just like maybe somebody at a welding company. You know, it's what people are going and find out whatever innovations you'd come up with in the workplace. They were from anything but well, maybe not, I'm exaggerating, but they were all from backgrounds that appreciated seeing a bloke sat in front of a fire on expensive gear. They were just like, they were you know, a lot of them were pretty, how do I put it? People that didn't want anything too elaborate. Because they suspect that when you do that, they think, what are you trying to hide?
Yeah.
You know, what's really going on here? And I'm not saying that doing things well, you know, makes people trust you less, but it can't be all form and no substance. You know, there's got to be a point to it. There's got to be something that, you know, that somebody is saying on your behalf, i.e. from the client, that actually has some value, you know, that actually persuades people that you do a good job.
Right.
Otherwise, it's icing and no cake.
Absolutely. That is a great way to put it. And I know that you love to use the, you know, simple video testimonials to really help people see the genuineness of either the person or the service or the company or all three, right? So,
well, I ain't got the imagination to fake anything, you know. I haven't. I just rather go on what's in front of us.
Right, absolutely, yeah. Because at the end of the day, when people buy services and buy products, they're going to experience what they want to experience from the service and the product. So it's real life, right? It's not all camera, action, glitzy, nice music, and fabulous lighting. It's like that. That's not what people want. They want solution to their problems, or they want ideas when they're out of ideas, and whatever it is they're looking for. They're looking for a real person or a set of people to help them get what they want, right?
Well, like, you bring people in the equation. If you were filming, like, you're doing something for an events company, you'd want to see proof that they can put on fancy events, and you'd bring in the fancy cameras.
Right.
You'd excite people for that. If you're trying to show people that you were, like, as I said, a regional brand or a national brand, people want to know that you've got the resources to handle their problems.
Right.
And people still do get fooled by the bigger is better idea,
Right.
and so companies do spend money on that. But yeah, people are getting savvier.
Yeah, I think the consumer, well, actually, the advent of very powerful smart devices that we can hold in our hand, as much as I, 2.25 years ago, I used to push back on the value of those, and now it's like, I've always got this sucker. And in fact, my new little story is today I figured out how to get a QR code added to a image of a new journal I just bought out, and I tested it, and I can put my smartphone in front of the image, and it takes me straight to the little website that shows what the journal's all about, and then they can click one more time and they can purchase the journal. It's like, oh my God, it's like, that would have been 20 steps before. Now, I can share that information with people that are interested in wanting to obtain a fix-it journal to learn how to fix things and improve things pretty quickly. And I can do it in 2 clicks now. It's unbelievable, right? So,
yeah.
And hey, if I can do it, I'm a 66-year-old worn out guy. If I can do it, then, other people can do it too, right?
I think being able to talk with no filter helps a lot.
Yeah, sometimes I don't have a filter. That is true. But, there's places for filters, right? I mean, but at the end of the day, I just try and show people what I do. And like you're a product to your own process, right? You use video because you want to show people the power of video. I use how do you streamline processes is the long word, but just how do you make things simpler and faster and better? And if I wasn't doing that, and if I wasn't doing that wearing a blue shirt, people would say, oh, you're a phony, Bruce, you're a fake. That's not really who you are. And it's like, it's a hard sell at that point, right?
I think you bring up the subjects of proof.
Right.
You remember, I mean, maybe this is a very English thing to say, but years ago, we had a teacher who'd read us some stories, and he read one story, and it was about a kid who lied that his uncle was Bobby Charlton, and all the kids go around saying, prove it then, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And, in that story, Bobby Charlton turned up, but that's besides the point. If people used to make big elaborate claims, especially big companies who had the resources to advertise on national television at a time when nobody could advertise unless they had a big budget to do so, because there was only one channel, the telly or the radio. So the interesting thing that's flipped around now is that a person, let's say that Fred the handyman, who's got nothing but a bag of tools for his name and a phone, at least on a local level, if he's smart about it, can compete against Big Mac handyman tool company with 13 vans, because Fred knows how to just get feedback from his clients and, get it recorded and stick it on his website. Literally, it's allowed the little person to, at least on a local community level, to cut in on what used to be the sole territory of larger firms or established businesses that have been going for years.
Right. But the curious thing around that social proof, Tommy, I find is that number one, it's very powerful. Number two, it's really interesting that when you actually look at the companies that then either hire more people or spend their money more locally, I mean, that's what really fuels up the economy. It's not all the mega giant companies on the planet. I mean, they have a place, but most of the largest percentage of growth occurs in, a solopreneur company that might end up giving or allowing 4 other people to work with them in the team. That's where the job and the opportunity growth. And then when they go spend their money in the local community with other local community businesses, I mean, that's what really fires up the economy. It's not the mega giants all the time. So
no, and I've got to be careful not to start a rant about big corporations and whatnot. There is a point where a lot of large firms focus largely on growth for growth's sake. And no, actually, funny enough, it's not even that it's the money. It's just the idea of building something big. Right. Is so enticing, and I get it. An entrepreneur wants to build and build and build, but at some point, there's so much structure in a business. If it gets too big, that it's harder to serve the clients and make sure they're all happy. So on a local level, the local businesses tend to care about their staff a little bit more. Absolutely. They tend to care about their clients a little bit more. And, it's like back to the thing of being a nation of shopkeepers, funny enough, even in Japan, you'd think it was, it was all sunny. Actually, even Japan, most of the businesses there are small ones.
Absolutely.
And that's ironically why people are still selling VHS tapes over there. But that's another little subject. So, but just because somebody's a small company doesn't mean they're a good company, and one thing I like about gathering social proof is that it allows the people who do a good job that are not naturally as good at shouting loud or spending advertising money to still punch above their weight. Yeah. And to still, if you've done a good job, you get rewarded, or you can get rewarded. Whereas before, that wasn't always possible. And so that's one of the nice things about getting reviews and feedback on record, is that people can literally just off reputation alone build themselves up.
Right. Well, it's interesting. Hey, Anthony Reed. So Anthony was a guest with his buddy Dwellin last week. We have fun, and he's got a great story. Talk about social proof that Anthony has. So actually, everyone on the feed, obviously, I don't know who's watching that may not have commented, but I think we're all products of our own processes. And to me, that is way more important than trying to grow. And I'm probably going to get scaled or scathed by people that say, well, I don't want to grow too big. And the reason I don't want to grow too big is I don't want to lose the personality of the way that I help people, become simpler, faster, better. And I want to do that in a very professional, measured, tailored, and fun way. I don't want to have to duplicate everything that I've been doing in the last 40 plus years through too many other people, because it's going to lose its personality. It's not going to be the same as the guy in the blue shirt doing process improvement alongside you or with you or for you. And so I'm not, that's not my mindset. I don't want to get too big. So
I hear that. I think there's a certain point where, you know, if you have a franchise of curry houses, you know, my family's Asian.
Mm,
So, if, you know, you have like the original curry house and it's amazing. And then you
yeah,
have 6 curry houses with the same name. And as much as they try to make everything just quite as good, it can be a really nice place to go with a family. It's just not got that magic.
right,
And you know, people end up always going to the original one anyway if they can.
right.
Um, so don't get me wrong, it really depends on what the mission is. If the mission is just to grow and get big, fair enough. Anybody can do that. To serve everybody well, I don't know. You know, I think that, you know, that's why they pay usually the top hairdresser in the salon, and why they
Hmm.
charge a lot more money, because they do it right.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people know that I started to collaborate with Tisha Marie Pelletier, and her new real estate company is called Property with Personality, and it's interesting because she brings all of her personality to that. So again, she's not trying to be the biggest realtor in the marketplace. She wants to be the realtor that brings her personality, and her personality is all about service. I mean, she is all about service and going above and beyond, and delighting people in ways that she always over delivers. I mean, she's unbelievable. So people get to know her for that, and she's happy to do that. So very happy to do that, because it fuels her purpose and her passion, and that's what makes it fun for her to be in business in the way that she's in business. So plus she's good at branding as well. I mean, she helps. That's why we're working together. She's taking a hard look at my branding and saying, hey, does it fit now? Is it where I want to be in 2022 based on the goals that I have, So we'll see what comes out of that. So
I I hear that. I think that you can you can make an impact on so many people,
right.
and that in itself will get your name around, and people will come because you're good at helping them, you
Yeah.
know. And don't get me wrong, there's always a point where you have to say, look, I've either got a full order book, or I've got to expand the operation,
Right.
and that is a conversation that somebody else has to have. If you
Absolutely.
can keep the same process and you can make it as good as it was when you first started, and sometimes actually, to be honest, having a few extra people on board makes things a little less chaotic, and things
Yep.
do improve. Don't get me wrong, so I'm not trying to trash getting a little bit bigger.
Hmm.
But with it, I like the thing that Gary Vee once said: "Grow with intent."
Yeah.
But I mean, getting back to the whole proof thing, it's red carpet treatment, and this is one of the reasons I do like the idea of people gathering social proof, is that those people who do go above and beyond in the past, that got forgotten, unless it was
Absolutely.
unless that person had a strong network,
Hmm.
then that effort got kind of just drifted into oblivion. It was remembered by the person who was served, but no one else knew about it.
Yeah.
So basically, you're taking that lightning of making somebody happy and putting it in a bottle so others can see it,
Yeah.
and that is something that is quite handy to preserve if people
Yeah.
don't know who you are.
No, I think it's funny because when you capture the feeling and the energy in that moment, it's way more meaningful than trying to stage manage it afterwards or try and recreate it down the road. So that's why smartphones are so key. I mean, I did a one-on-one meeting. What wasn't the first time one-on-one meeting, but a couple of days ago, and there was a point in the conversation that was a real capturable moment, and I just said to the lady I was meeting with, "Hey, let's go out by the sign on, because the where we were meeting was significant to the conversation." And I said, "Let's just do a video," and we did a video right there and then, and it's like 31 seconds, but it captured the full essence of what we were talking about, and what we learn from each other, and like right at that very moment. So instead of, you know, waiting till I got home and saying to her, hey, you know, I think, you know, we captured a common ground here, you know, instead of having to recreate all that, we just did it right there and then. Now I'm having to figure out, how do I make it look a little bit more presentable? So, but hey, you know, we captured, when you replay that video, you can see that we captured that moment of, aha, we have this same thing in common, right? And it's very powerful. So,
well, you kind of hit upon something that applies to that and many other moments where we could grab, you know, I'm not talking about testimonials here, I'm just speaking in video generally. A lot of the time, if I feel like I've got an idea in my head and I feel like I know it, even if it takes me a few takes to get it, I will just shoot and record.
right.
You know, because when you're in a more, like, I hate the word inspiration, but you know, when you're in a bit of a flow state and you feel like I've got an idea up here and I know what it is, or I feel like I can confidently say it, it's better to get it then, because later on, you might, even if you feel like time will help you to get a better idea of how to say something, your confidence won't be there as much as it is early on. And believe it or not, that's not a vague, fluffy notion. Confidence makes you feel like you can just keep pushing forward, even if you're hitting mental barriers,
right?
You know, or if you're tripping up your words, you'll just say, I'll carry on. Whereas the later it goes on, you think, what was I trying to say here? You know, so leaving it for longer tends to make you overthink it. And you have to push harder to get over the line. Whereas if you think, I've got an idea, I'm just going to get it on record. Like you said, like you and your friend did, you just go, right, we're going to do it. And we feel like we've got the idea in our heads. Let's do it now before it vanishes and it's harder to recreate.
So I don't know if you see any of Brian Schulman's stuff, but Brian Schulman's based in San Diego, California, and he was the very first person that ever got me on video, and it wasn't planned that way. But Brian I always take Brian's advice: shoot it, don't reprocess it too much, don't do retakes, don't crop it too much, because you lose the whole essence of the communication. And the other thing is, if you try and over process it or over correct it, then it's not you. I mean, we make mistakes. We choose wrong words for wrong meanings. And so I don't do double takes on things. I just, whether that's bad or not, I don't know, but I don't retake stuff. I just do it. And now I might store it away and not use it, but I don't go back and retake stuff. So
I'm going to ask you, you know, you're probably familiar with films like Full Metal Jacket, The Shining, you know, Clockwork Orange, all that. And Kubrick, you know, would do about 70 takes. But we're dealing with actors here. And most of the time, unless you're trying to provoke something that they've not even thought about, the first take is nearly always the best.
Absolutely.
A lot of filmmakers will stitch together takes. And I know I'm going out into something that is the world of fiction, but there's a kind of idea here that still carries over. And that is the first take usually tends to be stronger because they haven't thought it through too much. Yeah. They haven't tried to analyze what they're doing so much, because when you hit the camera button for the first time and people are letting it all out for the first time, it is still spur of the moment. Whereas every subsequent take is, did I do this right? How should it be done? And, you know, all right, if you fluff what you were meant to be saying and you completely grant all, you got to start again. That said, most of the time, the first take is always going to have the, you know, the strongest energy and confidence that a person knows what they're talking about. Sure. And often the words will flow for that reason.
Absolutely. But for me, I want to make sure, and again, it's taken me 2 years to get past this point up until really in the last couple of months of doing lives, is that, you know, I want people to know what they're going to get. I mean, if I'm going to, you know, if they're going to invite me into their business or invite me to work with them one-on-one, I want them to really know that, you know, they're going to get me. They're not going to get a fabricated retake version of me. And so, you know, if they don't like the way I say things or point things out, then it's probably not going to be a good fit. you know, I want them to get the real guy in the blue shirt that's really good at process improvement stuff. You know, I'm a process whiz and I've done it for a long time, and I can make people get extraordinary results if they just go with the flow and let me help them, teach them, or do it for them. You know, it doesn't matter. You still get to the same point. So,
well, there's a lot of people who have been, you know, almost, I won't say raised, but they've been conditioned for years, by whatever circumstance, to think that everything must look like it's corporate, you know. And that filters down to the micro businesses. There's businesses that work with 3 million clients that think that that's how you've got to behave. And yet a lot of people I know who deal in those figures,
right,
find it completely a turn off because it is just so beige, you know. Whereas some people, what they really like is beige. I mean, that's becoming a more and more of a minority, but there's still a bunch of people who, you know, want everybody to wear, you know, the people I work with to wear a Rolex watch, you know,
sure.
because those signals indicate trust to them. Most people are turning away from, a lot of people now I can't guarantee you know, it's most, but I would say a large amount of people are turning away from those signals because they have been used to disguise maybe a lack of competency. I'm not saying a person who dresses a certain way is incompetent, but a lot of people have used it to hide their shortcomings.
Yeah.
And so people gravitate towards what's real. Sometimes your version of real is the kind of real I worry I can't get along with, but you'll find the people who are your tribe in the end.
Absolutely. Yeah, they'll come to you.
And you know, that for that reason it helps to a large degree speak without too much filter.
Sure. Well, that is a perfect segue in terms of, you know, you're talking about attracting your own tribe. So what's the best way for people to get a hold of you, Tommi, if they want to learn what you do and how you can help them with, you know, use of video?
Well, I'm easily found on LinkedIn. My name's a Google whack in itself. Tommi 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒔𝒆. And you can read my profile and people will make a decision if they can help them or not. You know, that's the thing. I don't really hard sell it. But what I do provide, at least once a week, is a newsletter on LinkedIn, simply called Secrets of Testimonials. And I heard on a podcast once a coach called Jeffrey Shaw say something really profound, which was that he worried that one day that somebody would, his friends, you know, he wouldn't include his friends on his newsletter because he didn't want to feel like they were being spammed. And then he realized that he should never be writing a newsletter that feels that he couldn't include, send to a friend if it was written in a spammy way. So I do try to send stuff that people can just enjoy and read.
Awesome. Yeah. Everyone likes a good read and a good story, right? I mean,
amen to that.
Better than that. All right, man. Well, again, thanks so much for, it's probably, what time is it there in Malta?
Probably past 1, but I appreciate the platform.
1 a.m. Saturday morning. So you are almost in Pacific Rim time. Good for you.
Like that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for, jumping on and chit-chatting with me. It was great to get to know you better. And I'm actually going to do, if it's okay with you, talking about unscripted versus scripted videos. I'm actually going to do a little outtake to give a little recognition to a voiceover artist called Trina Poole. So just bear with me and I'll be back. So
what if your processes do not work well? Did you know you can save or eliminate massive amounts of wasted steps, time, money, or other resources? Bruce can show or teach you how. Take the next step. Visit his website at processcleanup.com and book a casual yet confidential call with Bruce. It just might change your world forever.
Doesn't she have a great voice?
One of a kind.
one of a kind. She's awesome. Yeah. So myself is still outtake. So I think people know how to get me. And like your first name, Tommi, you're easy to find on Google and on LinkedIn. The guy in the blue shirt, I'm pretty unique. So I've got that down. Thanks, Tommi. Appreciate it.
Happy to be on board.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.